led by Mr. Seth Thomas. In this session, we'll be discussing ways to help children deal with big emotions, really big, crazy sometimes. And so it does seem to be something that is coming up more and more. Children with severe emotional needs that maybe we did not deal with ourselves as kids, or some of us did, but we didn't know how to work through that. And so hopefully by the end of the day, we have some useful tools to be able to help these kids as they definitely need it. Seth Thomas is a counseling major from Hope Sound Bible College. Seth has worked at Aspire Indiana Health for nearly 3 years, working directly with youth and families, collaborating with treatment teams, delivering mental health services, behavioral modification interventions, and teaching emotional regulatory skills to youth. Seth has also developed a family-focused therapeutic technique. Seth enjoys woodworking, DIY projects when he isn't busy, making homemade pizzas for his wife and other creative things. I do not like this. So, we would also like to give thanks to our sponsors because without their donations, we would not be able to put on Worldchangers Week, Ace Paving and Scrap Metal, Buckler Ministries, 610 Coffee Company, Corporate Fleet Management, ICHA Ministries, and Salem Park Church have all donated, and we thank them. So I will turn it over to Mr. Seth Thomas.
Good morning. Thank you, Mrs. Thomas, for that wonderful introduction. If you'll give me a moment here, I can get my computer set up. It's funny, I put the homemade pizza part in there because she actually hates my pizzas.
What kind do you usually make?
I make, so she does not like tomatoes. I make homemade tomato sauce. So, but for my birthday, she bought me a pizza maker. How sweet. It cooks pizzas in half the time that it usually takes me, so now I get to enjoy that. I gained 50 pounds. So, yes, what Nicole said about me is true. I would like to clarify just a couple of things so that I'm not misleading you guys at all. I want you guys to be able to trust me. I no longer work for Aspire Indiana. Actually, Friday was my last day. But I worked there for nearly 3 years, working with kids, working with families. I loved every minute of it. It was a financial decision. That's all I have to say about that. So it was nothing to do with the work. I didn't get fired. Don't think that. For the most part, I did a good job. I like to think so. My inflated ego. So what Nicole said is true. And she said something I hadn't even thought about. A lot of the emotions that we're seeing with kids today, the emotional dysregulation issues we're seeing with kids today, are due in part because we were not able to deal with those emotions as kids. I'm not saying that it is a direct result, but it does play into effect there. There are lots of factors that play a part in a child's emotional dysregulation. And that's what we're going to call it today, emotional dysregulation. That's what it is. It's when a child is not able to regulate their emotions and their feelings properly. So, today, you teachers who are in here, you all know, I went and sat in your classes this morning. And I'm glad to see you all showed up too. I was hoping you would, because I've got a lot to say. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I want to start off first by qualifying the problem. What is the issues that we're seeing today? And I would like to open this up to you guys. Now, I have asked that the 7th and 8th graders be removed from this class since they're the ones supposed to be here, and that they be put down in a different class. You can thank Pamela Baker when you see her. I guess she has 6 different classes right now, someone said. Because another block said they didn't want kids in their class either. So when you see her, please thank her. I did that so that you guys could open up. And I want you guys to believe that this is a safe space, it's a free space, so that you guys can tell me what it is that you need from me. I believe that I am a professional in this field. I don't like to say that because pride, and I'm a Christian, and I don't want to have this inflated ego. But for today's session alone, please, just let me help you so that you can help the kids, and in turn help me, okay? So, I have heard that this week, interaction has not been great, so please not let that be today. Please talk to me. Ask me questions. I want to leave some time at the end of today's session for a Q&A, but I am going to start off by asking you guys a few questions so you can talk to me so I know directly how I can help you. Like I I said, first I want to qualify the problem. What it is that I saw today, and what it is that we see across our school systems. Today we're talking about helping children deal with big world emotions. I can't remember if I was asked to give a topic or if I was asked to talk about this topic. But I'm glad it was big world emotions and not adult-sized emotions. Because there are no such things as adult-sized emotions. Yes, there are adult things that should remain with adults. There are things that adults talk about that kids should not have any part in, such as financial decisions, we're moving, family stress, that needs to be kept away from the kid. The child, I should say. But emotions are emotions. There's no such thing as, that's a kid emotion, that's an adult emotion, right? Guys, ladies, we're allowed to be happy, we're allowed to go outside and have fun, and kids are allowed to do the same stuff that we do, right? It's just, they're universal emotions. So some of the things that I saw today in your guys' classrooms, and this is not a poor reflection on you guys at all, please don't think that at all. And trust me, I'll get to that part in a second, but trust me, what I saw in your guys' classrooms is no different than what I've seen in the public school systems, okay? So while shadowing each class today, I know several problematic behaviors. And a couple of these are really easy, no-brainers. Lack of focus, distractions, arguing with teachers and other students, lack of respect for others and their property. There's a lack of humility, talking out of turn, unspent energy, lack of anger management, emotional dysregulation, boredom. These are just a few of the things that I saw. Would you guys agree with me that this is kind of stuff that you deal with on a daily basis? And I was only in your classroom for 5 minutes maybe. I can't imagine what you guys deal with for what, 6-7 hours? Bravo. So, I will say, and some of you may not understand this, or may have noticed this, but in the lower academy, there were more problems in the lower academy than there were in the, I'm sorry, backwards. There were more problems in the high school than there were in the lower academy. I got ahead of myself there. Which I was shocked by, because the schools that I go to, most of the issues are in the lower academy, elementary classrooms. Part of that is home life, some developmental disabilities, that's understandable. I never want to blame the teacher, because your job as a teacher, and I'm kind of speaking to you 4 teachers, 5 teachers right here right now, but your job as a teacher is just to teach, not be their parent. I know some of you guys are parents though. Parent your kids. But your job as teachers is to teach. So teach. And some of you education majors are going to be teaching here soon. Don't focus on being their parent. Focus on being their teacher. Okay? If you focus on being their parents are going to say, cool, you get my kid now. Have fun. And you're going to run into that problem. So, I want to open up to you guys. Why are you here? Some of you guys have to be here. Get it? That's totally fine. Don't tell me that. But I want to know, why are you guys here? What is it you guys want to learn? What are your questions? What are the problems that you guys have in your classroom? Please, feel free to open up. I would ask, though, if you've got something you want to say, please raise your hand and tell me what your name is so I can talk to you directly. Okay? This isn't like a normal classroom, but I want to know your name so I can talk with you. I already know some of your names. But please, I want to open up the floor right now. What are some issues that you're seeing in the classroom? Or maybe you got a question. Hey, why is this kid doing this? Don't give me names. All right, we all know everybody in here, and this is recorded too. So we don't need that kind of stuff getting out there. But say, hey, there's how do you deal with a kid who is just all over the floor? I mean, what do you do with that? Okay, I can do that. All right. So please, who's first? Shannon, go ahead.
How would you suggest encouraging a student to be comfortable with themselves and the idea that they're considering changing to better fit what people expect them to be? And what they are currently is perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear you saying is there's a kid that you're thinking about who is trying to change themselves for the better of someone else, right?
Sort of.
Sort of.
It's their self-identification.
There's a lot there's a lot of branches right there. So to best answer your question, is this a sexual identity issue? Okay, interesting. I am not great on sexual identity problems. I have dealt with it. I try my best. Man. let me explain to you guys this first really quick. Where I worked, we had to encourage, and I never did this, but our policy was we had to encourage, hey, if your sexual identity is changing, good for you. How can I help you? How can I help you be comfortable with that? That is not how we believe as Christians, is it? That's not how I believe. And so whenever I was given that case, please pass it on to somebody else. So there's not a whole lot of experience that I have with sexual identity or gender dysphoria. Go ahead.
Can I add to that? This is mostly caused by other people's, like, observations of them.
Yeah, so you have a boy, hey, you're acting a little feminine, you're acting more like a girl. You might wear a pink scarf or whatever. You know, guys can wear pink, or girls can wear blue, whatever. Not that blue is a male color, I'm not saying that at all. But you understand what I'm trying to say. First of all, depending on that child's age, and I don't need to know it right now, depending on the child's age, you need to be having this conversations with the parents. Hey, we're having some sexual identity, gender identity issues with your child. These are some things that are going on in the classroom that I see personally. There's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of peer pressure maybe. Hopefully that pressure is not coming from a teacher, and I trust that it's not. But in the case that, you know, maybe there's an adult in their life who is encouraging that as well, maybe there's a parent, I could believe that. In fact, I have seen that. You have a parent who's encouraging, hey, my kid, he just wants to be a girl, you know, we're just going to let it be what he wants to be, or maybe he wants to be a cat, you know, I've had stuff like that before. You need to be having those conversations with the parents. That's not your responsibility, right? But having those encouraging conversations, hey, you are Billy. Billy, you're a great guy. You're great in math. You love to play baseball. I mean, just encourage the strengths that he has. Whenever you're working with a child, you need to find their strength base foundation, okay? Whatever their foundational strengths are, get into that and utilize that. I don't want to use the word manipulate, or something like that, but you gotta critically look into that and use that. Does that make sense? Have I answered your questions? Cool. I did a really poor job, and I apologize. I should have prefaced that. I'm not great with the sexual identity stuff. Like I said, there was a policy. I just tried to avoid it as best I could. Keep my own soul. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else have a question? I want to know what it is that you guys are dealing with on a daily basis. I already kind of know, but I want to know on a daily basis what's going on. Yes.
So your very first Liz.
Liz, thank you.
Kids on,
Yeah.
so, okay, you recognize kids on, well, how do you keep the kids in their seats? That must be all over the floor, all over the room, hanging on the coat racks and.
Yeah. Yeah. I may even know who you're talking about. Because I was in your classroom this morning. I got
Starts first thing.
Yeah. So I will address that. I'm going to get into that here a little bit later. That's a lot of energy that child has. Whether it be a boy or girl, they've got so much tremendous energy that they're just, you know, vibrating off the wall. And you can't keep the energizer bunny in the seat, can you? Right? And whatever you do, it just makes it worse. And you get frustrated, and then they get frustrated, and then there's a fight or an argument. And please, never get into an argument with a kid. It's not worth it. Never. Some of you guys are like, yeah, no. Okay, so Liz, I will get into that, all right, I assure you. We're going to talk about that increased energy, that tremendous amount of energy that kids have. All kids have got it, right? So I will answer that question in just a minute. Is that okay? Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. Isaac.
A student or group of students who show great disrespect towards certain teachers.
Yeah.
And just authority in general.
Yeah. So what I like to tell people is this. Really try to answer that question, but I'll go the long way. If a child's got lack of respect for people or property, first of all, that's coming from the home, that's coming from their parents. They didn't learn that from school. They may have learned some traits at school, that could be nipped in the bud really quick at home. It's coming from the home, all right? Their parents are not telling them, teaching them from a young age, or middle age, they could be fostered, they could be adopted. They're not teaching that child from a beginning age. We respect everybody the same. Everybody has the same rights. Everybody has the same privileges as everybody else. We treat people's property with respect. I've heard stories of, I gotta be careful here. Someone's throwing eggs at the school, for instance. We know that happened a while back. I don't know who was involved. Don't need to know. That's a lack of respect, a lack of property, right? Great disrespect to the school building as well. It's a Christian institution and a federal crime, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe someone's like, hey, let me see your computer. Let me and start getting on their computer, get on the internet. I have had kids steal their friends' Chromebooks from school. I think, oh, my kid is my friend. He said I could use it. It's no big deal. We talk to the friend later. No. I said, hey, look at this real quick, and I turned around and poof, it was gone. He didn't say he could use it, but he just jumped to that conclusion. It starts from the top, and the top is supposed to be in the family with the parents. Okay, we're going to talk about this more here in just a bit. But the problem is, it's coming from the parents. The parents have not instilled in that child the level of respect that society demands from them. Does that make sense?
So,
Go ahead.
So then, what can you do as a teacher to try and help that student then, if the problem stems from the parents? Is there anything you can do? Anything you can do from the school setting?
Yes. Oh, you want me? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there is something that you can do as a teacher. It's called discipline, right? We have strict rules and regulations here at school. Some of those rules and regulations are being adjusted or added or changed. Some of them are new, some of them are getting rid of, old and outdated. But you have to have discipline, and as teachers, you need to be consistent. Okay? What happens for Johnny might not work for Susan, but if Johnny does something and Susan does the same thing, and Johnny receives discipline A and Susan doesn't receive any discipline, what does that tell Johnny? That he's the bad kid, Susan can get away with it. And when they become adults, there's a rude awakening. Oh, that's not how this real world works. Okay? You have to be consistent in your discipline. As a teacher, as a parent, you need to have that discipline instilled in that child. Make sense? Did I answer your question? 2 for 3. Good. Anybody else? I'm having fun. I love dialogue. I love discussing these things with parents. Anybody else?
This has been really here, but I was too was I went to church at home, and other than with me, they've never been to church, and other than with me, they don't have to listen, and other than with me, they're influenced by really bad things, parents that are siblings, basically saying you have to. And so I bring them to church, and then I can't, which is probably most of the time, but if they're Sunday. We bring them to church. They're both boys, and they just don't listen. And it's like, okay, I don't mind if you if you are like reading like a Bible through, like looking at if you're coloring on a page or whatever, like all that's okay, but they'll like grab their shoes and like lift themselves up, and I mean like just like swing on their monkey bars. They will like, I'll try to put one on one side and one on the other side, and they'll try to like talk behind me, talk in front of me, like hit each other. Just all these things. It's just like, I want to go to church as much as I can when I'm home, but then I don't get anything out of the service, and I just get frustrated. And then when I leave, I just cannot wait to get home because I'm so aggravated. And then my patience is just like gone. And before we did that, I'm like, yeah, when we get done, I'll bring you McDonald's or whatever. If you're good, I try to guide them. You know what I'm saying? Like with something, like a park or whatever, you can do it. And I feel like it doesn't really do anything because they just don't. And I know that they're young and they don't know a lot. I just don't know how to deal with it without them obviously seeing that I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because me bringing them to church and getting mad at them is not doing any good.
Right. Right.
And I'm not like, I don't like to yell at them, but I'm just, they can see that I'm acting like, I know that they're doing what I'm doing. It's just like,
Sure.
I don't know how to go about like making them listen without me.
Yeah, and you're right. It does nobody any good by putting yourself in that situation. Couple clarifying questions, may I? Are these your kids? Or are they somebody else's kids?
Oh, no, I used to work at a school and I guess I just felt really bad for them.
Okay,
So I
okay.
asked everyone.
So you're not related to these kids?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay, I can be mean then. No. I'm just kidding. I will tell you the truth here though, okay? I'm not gonna be judgmental, alright? This is a judgment-free zone. I'm not your maker. But I will tell you the truth. I'll be blunt with you. Fair? What you talked about and described is a little bit about what Liz said. We got that high energy, And boys especially, what are their ages roughly?
7.
Yeah, okay. So Velociraptor stage. So they're just like, their energy is just overflowing, right? They're not gonna listen to you. I would dare say, it's terrible for me to assume, but I would dare say they're probably from a single parent home. Am I close?
Yeah, both of their parents are not, they're just
Yeah,
grandparents.
okay. And they're probably raised by a family member, grandparent, aunt, uncle, something like that. Okay, yeah. So there's really nothing you can do for that kid. And it's sad, I hate telling people that, but there are some times where there's nothing you can do. You can pray for that kid. What that kid needs, it needs his mom and his dad. He needs a stable, structured home. He's going to need some more things I'm going to talk about here, physiologically. But at 7, 8, I don't know when the separation was from parents. There's going to be some major developmental disorders there as well because they don't have that father figure, that mother figure going on in their lives. So, they're coming to church. You want them to come to church. That's great. That's what the church is for. Elizabeth and I, we worked in children's ministry. Or she worked in children's ministry. I kind of worked in the teen ministry, but we worked in children's ministry in our church. And she would understand this. And some of you guys work in children's ministry as well. Church is for the kids. It's for the brokenness, right? Jesus did not come to seek and save those who are already found. He came to seek and save those who are lost, those who are broken. He came to seek and save the broken families. Okay? That's a broken family you just described to me. And I work with that every day for 3 years. And it breaks my heart. It does. Because there's nothing that I can do. Even as a mental health professional, there was nothing I could do unless I had both mom and dad on board with me. And so many times I would have the mom and dad say, hey, my kid, he's acting up. Can you do something? Sure, I can talk with him. I can get paid to do it. I got paid to do my job. Not much, but I got paid to do my job. And I quickly realized, probably about a year into my job, I realized, wow, I'm doing nothing. I'm not making a difference at all. You know why? Because mom and dad are over there smoking pot or doing whatever else they want to do. And I got a kid over here on the living room couch. And he's begging me for attention. He needs it from his mom and dad. Okay? Most of the time when a kid's acting out, he's seeking out attention. And kids will, you'll learn this if you haven't already, kids will seek out attention even if it's negative attention. Yeah. And I had one kid in particular. Can I tell you guys a story? I'm sure you guys love hearing stories. You're going to love my stories. I can't share names, I can't share specifics, obviously. But I had a kid, he was 13 years old. He was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, PTSD, ADHD. But the main issue was the reactive attachment disorders. Anybody, do I need to explain some of that? Yeah, okay. So reactive attachment disorder is when, just for short version, when someone has a poor attachment style with another person, okay? We all have attachments with each other, okay? Isaac, here's my nephew. I have an attachment with him, right? My wife is Mrs. Thomas. I have a great, tremendous attachment with her. Not the same as you, okay? Right? I have attachments to all you right now because, hey, I'm speaking with you. You're speaking with me, right? We're holding a dialogue, a conversation. When, for example, let's say I had a poor attachment style, okay? There are 4 primary attachment styles. I won't share them with you right now because, to be honest, I didn't come prepared with that information. There's so much you can't remember it all. But let's say my wife is being really kind to me, right? I come home, she cooks me a really nice meal, I sit down, she takes off my boots, she's rubbing my shoulders, I'm like loving it, here's a lemonade, honey, thank you so much. She's like rubbing my head. I'm a big physical touch kind of guy if you haven't noticed, right? I love it when my wife gives me head scratches. TMI. But if she would be really nice to me and I didn't have a good attachment style, I'm going to be, hey, what are you doing? What's going on here, right? I'm going to be avoidant. I'm going to try to avoid that. I could be disorganized, right? I need this attachment from you. I need your love, but then you give it to me. I don't know. I don't trust you. Okay? A poor attachment style is when someone does not trust the other person, right? Something has happened tremendously in that child's life, that person's life, that starts from an early age where they no longer trust other people. We see that a lot in kids. And unfortunately, a lot of it is undiagnosed. Okay? Make sense, everybody? Where's I going with that? 13-year-old diagnosed rad. He would, not gonna remember where I was going with that. He was very, very intelligent, great at school, got mostly all A's, right? Unfortunately, though, he had been in the foster home system. He'd been to 18 foster homes since he was 8. Okay? 18. The majority of them were abusive. He was neglected and abused by his mom. Dad was on the picture. Biological mom, by the way. Taken out, foster home after foster home after foster home. Do you guys mind if I take off my jacket? Thank you. It is very hot here. Plus, I'm moving around a lot. I like to move. He would move around from foster home to foster home. A lot of them were abusive and neglectful. There was one home that he had. They put him in a bedroom. They locked him in his bedroom. They had a camera in his bedroom. He would play with his toys. They took his toys away. Making too much noise, being too rowdy. Okay, well, I'll just play with my pillow, right? He's just a kid. He's just trying to keep his mind busy. He's stuck in a room all day. Not during school, of course. Took away his pillow. Took away his bed. He was basically left with the clothes on his back, the flip-flops on his feet, and a rug on the floor. All that was taken away. The only thing he had were clothes on his back. They took away his flip-flops. They took away his rug because he was playing with it. He's just like, I just needed something to stimulate my mind. For food, he was given a hot dog, no bun, a hot dog, 2 a day. That's it. Can you live off that? Maybe. But he now has an eating disorder, undiagnosed, of course. But he has an eating disorder. He hoards food. So I would go to his house. He finally got adopted at the age of 12. Great family. They had their own issues, unfortunately. And so he was in a very unstable home situation, but he had a mom and a dad, right? And they got along for the most part, but when the issues came up, they were big, right? They were volcano eruptions. I would come into the home, and the home would smell really bad. They had 6 dogs, I think, 3 cats. So there'd just be like urine and cat feces on the floor, and it's just like the smell of what was it? Not ammonia. Thank you. The smell of ammonia was just so strong. I would literally schedule that one for the last day, for the last session of the day. Go home, strip my clothes off, throw them in the washer. It was just that bad. I couldn't even walk on my own home. It was that bad. So this kid's living in a really rough house now, but he's got a family. He's got parents that love him, but he's got this reactive attachment style, and so he's not able to really connect or communicate properly with his new parents. Although he loves them, he knows they love him, but there's that barrier, there's a wall. And so for about 2 years, I spent a lot of time with him, 3 hours a week probably, breaking down that barrier between him and his parents. It was difficult. And when I left, even on Friday, there was still some barrier there. It's sad because there's going to be times where you look at a kid and there's nothing I can do for you. Right? There's literally nothing I can do except, hey, I can be your best friend. I can come alongside you. We can talk. We can go for a walk. We can skip stones in the park. But there's nothing I can really do for you until you see a professional therapist about that. But also you need to have some good parenting styles. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Is that better? All right, she's not listening. No, you're good. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to answer your question, and I didn't really take it to the very end. But did I answer your question, helping those 2 boys out?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so sad. You're going to see that a lot, unfortunately. And I might be there professionally, but I'm going to tell you, there's nothing you can really do about it. And that's just the reality in the society we live in. Yeah, Shane, go ahead.
I have a question on behalf of 2 different teachers that are not here.
Okay, yeah.
This is a children's church setting and a high school classroom setting,
Well, I assume your husband probably.
and my sister.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Please.
Is there ever a time, and do you have ways to determine what the appropriate time is, that you need to dismiss a student from the room because the rest of the students are not going to get anything if they're in there?
So, yeah, that can be emotional, can be behavioral. I would encourage those teachers, staff members, to look at administration for the policy of when is it too far. But you have some kids that are acting up, I'm hearing, or there's some kids that are acting up. When is the appropriate time to dismiss them, get the parents involved, get them pulled out of school? Disciplinary action.
Well, even not completely out of school, just out of the classroom for
For the day.
that day.
Right, that's what I meant, for the day. So, when a child is acting out so poorly that it is negatively affecting others around them on a permanent basis. Meaning, let's say Isaac here is just, can I use you as an example? Thank you. Let's say Isaac here is just really having a bad day, and he's just slamming his books around, he's pounding on his desk. This sucks, this really stinks. Pardon my language. But he's just having a really bad day, and it's starting to affect other people around him. Would you dismiss him for that? I wouldn't. I'd probably pull him aside. Hey, what's going on, man? Oh, your pet dog just died? I'm so sorry, man. He doesn't have a dog.
I have a cat.
Whatever. I hate cats. But if he's starting to hit other people, hey, mom, he's having a really rough day. He's starting to hit other people. We pulled him into the principal's office. No, that didn't really work. He wasn't really wanting to listen or change. Can you come pick him up? I think he needs to go home and just kind of relax and process what's going on. I would encourage you as a teacher, and I know it's really hard, guys. You guys are the only teachers in your classroom. You have a couple teachers' aides, I hear. It's going to be really difficult for you to do that one-on-one with kids. Unfortunately, all the kids need one-on-one, right? But you're just not able to meet that need. So what we're talking about today is how can we meet those needs when we're limited resources, right? You're probably going to have to involve the parent rather quickly in a school system like this, right? A lot of schools I would go to, they would have school counselors, social workers there. Most of the social workers is rare that actually have school counselors because most can't afford it. But they would get them involved and they would have a reset room or something like that for the kids. That way the kid can, hey, I need like 10 minutes, I need to calm down, right? I just need to pull out some steam. Make sense? If there's any other questions? No? All right. So I want to start talking about some of these problems that we just discussed, right? Let's dive into them. Let's identify, discuss, and develop the problems that we're seeing. The last time I talked here at school, I talked about nature versus nurture. Have any of you been familiar with that? Or heard of it? Nature versus nurture is when the nurturing of your parents or your parental guardians, you could say, grandma, grandpa, aunt, and uncle, whoever is nurturing you, get that far so much? Whoever's nurturing you, how much does that affect your development compared to the nature of your environment? So, let's say you are in a really bad environment. You lived in a smoker's home, drugs, really dirty, messy, rough part of, let's say it's a rough part of the city, right? Even if you lived in a good part of town, it's going to affect you, right? There's that nature. Nurturing is, you got a mom, let's say that's their nature. Nurturing, mom and dad are great parents. They try to do their best. Mom's a recovering addict. Dad is, he's working all the time. He's trying his best. He's trying to connect. But there's just that lack of emotional connection now, okay? So you have your nature and you got your nurture, both falling into the development of this child. That is going to severely impact that child. There's a huge argument, and no one's going to win it. I couldn't even win it. Which is more important, your nature or your nurture? It's unsolvable, really. Because there's so many different scenarios. We can't distinguish which is more prominent in that child's life. When do I need to stop this? Noon? Oh, we're good. We're good, guys. We might get out just a little bit early. Are you okay with that? I'm really hungry, so we're okay with that. Not much. So, nature and nurture plays a vital part in a child's development. As teachers, as future teachers and administrators, you're going to learn a little bit about what that child's nurturing is like. One of my favorite things to do is take my wife out to dinner, sit down inside the restaurant, and watch kids. I'm not weird, but I watch kids and say, okay, how's their parenting style? I'm not looking at the parents because we as adults, we got a great facade. We can put on great masks and disguises, right? Oh, I'm great. I can put on a tie, but I can't button the top collar. But I can put on a great mask. I can put on a great facade. But kids can't, right? Kids are going to tell you 100% of the time how it's really going on at home. Okay. That's why if you ever go to a police officer ever goes to a house, they're pulling the kid out and separating the mom, right? Like, okay, what's going on? Because that kid's gonna tell you what's going on, right? Or at least show it. Kids cannot.
From their perspective.
Yeah, from their perspective, that's really important because
It's not always true.
this is being recorded again. But I say, if the kid is breathing, the kid's lying. I believe that because it's from that kid's perspective, like you said. But also, kids lie so much. So, let's talk about some other factors that are affecting that child's emotional dysregulation. Number one, I would say, probably the parenting style. We talked about this a little bit. There are 4 major parenting styles. Not going to get into them too much because it's not really important about what we're talking about. But the child's parenting style, the child's parent's parenting style, okay? There are 4. There are 4 major parenting styles. There were. Today, there's all kinds. There's new age parenting styles. And, hey, I'm going to be a fun parent. You know, this kid's going to be my friend. If you are a parent here, or you're considering being a parent, I will tell you, that child is never supposed to be your friend until they move out of the house. Okay? You're their parent, you're their boss, you're not their friend. If your kid thinks, oh, mom's my friend, she's my best friend, I love her so much, you know, you lose respect from that kid. Okay? You're questioning my lack of respect. Part of it comes from this new age parenting stuff. Okay? I cannot tell you how many times I walk into a home and mom and the kid, or mom and dad and the kid, I mean, they're just, you know, having the time of their life, but kids run around in just underwear, throwing food all over the place, beating up on the dog, and mom and dad are like, hey, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2.5, you know. It doesn't work. Okay? Now, another policy that I did not like, and I did have to go along with this. At Aspire, we did not encourage parents to spank their kids. It's considered physical abuse to some degree. I was spanked as a kid, and I thank God I was spanked as a kid. Because my respect for people and adults and others around me and their property was instilled to me behind the rubber spatula, okay? There was a time my dad even broke the rubber spatula on me. And then took me shopping for a new one. Except at that point, the rubber spatulas had gone out of, you know, style, and so they're doing wooden ones. Because I could drill holes in that and get some really good swing action on that. I was like, okay, I get it. I won't mess up again. Right? But what did that teach me? My actions have consequences. Let me just pause here for just a second and talk to you guys about consequences. Everything you do has a consequence. If you go to work every day, on Friday there's a consequence. What is it? You get paid. If you walk into the kitchen, our kitchen right now, we have 4 stovetops. They're raised stovetops. And they don't turn red. You do not know if they are hot. You turn the oven off, it's still going to stay hot, right? But there's no indicator lights. And so whenever my wife walks the kitchen, hey, that burner's hot. Or she tells me that, hey, that burner right there is hot. Okay, that way I know. Because a lot of times we're moving food or putting stuff on top. So if I walk in the kitchen and I just leave my hand on the stove and it's hot, I want to burn myself. That's a negative consequence. So there's positive consequences and negative consequences. I'm kind of digging deep into a couple of spots because I want you guys to understand that everything we do, everything your kid does, has a consequence. Okay? So, as a parent, when your kid acts up, misbehaves, you have to, 100% of the time, immediately, or tell them when. You know, I know you can't pull over the car sometimes, and you know, but you know, you immediately take care of the problem. Hey, when we get home, we're going to take care of this. Okay? I did not like your attitude in the store. That was embarrassing. Make sure you tell them that. It was embarrassing. Okay? It was embarrassing what you did or said, and we're gonna handle that when we get home. Tell them what the consequence is going to be as well. When we get home, there's no dessert. You know, when we get home, I'm going to throw your candy away. When we get home, I'm going to spank you. Okay? You can't spank your kids, by the way. Please do. I will say though, not every kid, when they get older, like for Isaac, let's say, apologies, I'm embarrassing him. You know, if his dad spanked him, it's not going to do a whole lot. Okay? He's too old for that. Okay? But my dad, when I was 17, my dad did threaten me one time. I was like, I know you won't, but because you said it, okay, I respect, okay? There is, because my dad always followed through. My dad said, hey, when I get home, I'm taking my belt off. And that meant I'm gonna spank. And I hated hearing my dad go, whoosh, you know the sound? I hated that. Like, I would be sitting in my bedroom sometimes, and I'm like, please God, not today. I don't know what I just did, but I promise I'll like be a missionary, you know? I'm not saying instill fear in your kids, okay? But there needs to be a healthy sense of fear and respect. Don't let your kids fear you. You can write this down. Your kids should not fear you, they should respect you. Okay? You can make your kids respect you. It is not that difficult. It just takes consistency and time. Both, many of us adults don't have. Okay? Let's keep moving. This is a big one. The next two are really big. Let's talk about exercise and diet. Lack of exercise and diet. A couple statistics here. Kids today, and that is from 6 to 18. Let's say 17. Kids today spend 6 hours a day on social media strictly, compared to kids in the 1900s.
There wasn't any social media back then.
Bingo. Okay? If there was back then, I don't know. We're not supposed to go back in the past to figure that out, okay? But the fact remains, that's a huge change, okay? Let's talk about the number of kids. I wish I had this number with me. I think it was like 20%, but I don't want to give you false information. I won't do that today. A large number of kids are obese, okay? I don't have that. That's unfortunate. A large number of kids are obese today. They may not look it, because when we think of obese, we think of someone who's 300 pounds, right? Or we think of my Big Life or whatever the TV show. I don't watch that kind of stuff. I don't have time for it. It's too much drama, right? But, that's what we think of, right? We think of the guy who's just like 400 pounds and just, that's what we think of, right? But for a kid, a 6-year-old obese is like, they're 70 pounds, right? And they may not look it, but they're a little pudgy. They start eating really junky food, okay? Parents, when you're feeding your kids, you do not have to feed them dino nuggets and mac and cheese every day, okay? And write this down. It is not abuse to force your kids to eat what you make them. No. Don't put force. It is not abuse to give your kids something they don't like to eat. Okay? And furthermore, it's not neglect or abuse to not let your kid eat anything else other than that. Can they physically eat that? For example, I had a kid. He only liked to eat chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. He wouldn't even eat steak, ribeye. He would not even eat steak. And he was in the foster system. His foster mom was afraid that she would go to jail and that she would lose him if she didn't feed him what he wanted. And I said, look, I couldn't even remember her name. Look, it is not abuse if you make him a steak, a baked potato, and some green beans. And no hick, no juice pump or juice punch, just water. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know what happened? She made it for him. Guess what? He liked it. But you know what he did when he sat down? Ew, I don't like that. I don't like potato. What is that? Green beans? What is that? That's steak? I don't like it. I don't like it. It smells bad. You know what? Okay. You can go to bed then. But your food will be out here. If you want me to, I'll warm it up for you. When I was a kid, my mom would make meals. I miss my mom's cooking sometimes. My mom would make a meal, and I would not want to eat it. Like, this is absolutely disgusting. I hated corn growing up. I love it today. But I hated corn growing up. And you know what? I couldn't get dessert until I ate my corn. Now, if I didn't eat my corn, okay, you didn't eat your corn, you got thrown away. I remember one time, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but it taught me a lesson. I remember one time I had those mixed vegetables, like the peas and the sliced up carrots, frozen mixed vegetables, cooked up. It looked disgusting. I mean, it was like mushy, and I was like, ugh. It's like playing like Play-Doh on my plate, I went outside, I dumped in the bush. The next day, my dad went out and was mowing around, he found them, and he made me go out and pick them out and microwave them. I never did that again. Am I saying I was abused? No. I had some good parents. They did some pretty radical things. And I'm okay for that today. I think. You can be the judge of that. I wouldn't recommend you do that to your kids today, okay? But I mean, I was born in the 90s, so like, you know, we're okay. So, 6 hours a day. Okay, so kids in the 1900s were spending 6+ hours a day outside, physical activity, compared to kids today who are spending less than an hour a day outside. That's including recess time. How long is recess out here? 2 breaks?
But 30 minutes.
You get an hour of exercise a day. You know, the statistics say that
That's if they run around.
56% of the kids that go home from here won't go outside again. Isn't that crazy? 24% of kids practice at least 60 minutes of exercise a day. And a lot of that's going to be included with recess time at school. Wow, I wonder why kids have so much energy. Because they're not outside enough, and that's not your responsibility. I'm very passionate, okay? I'm a very high D personality. I want this done, right? I see something, it's a problem, I'm gonna fix it. Okay? So I'm not yelling at you guys. Please don't think that. I am. This makes me upset. When I was a kid growing up, my mom would give my brother and I a gallon of water. Go outside. You're not allowed to come in until 10 o'clock tonight. It would stay light till 10 o'clock. And I would stay out. We would sit under a tree. It'd be 105 outside. I'm not even middle of July. We're like, so hot. I was 12 years old. Okay? Now we were allowed to play with water hose because, you know, we grew up poor. I get that. That's fine. But I mean, come on. Get outside. Get creative. I built forts as a kid. You know, my mom bought me a piece of fabric from Joann Fabrics that I used to build a tent outside. Like, I did stuff, all right? Rode a bike around until that broke down. Got a new bike. I rode that bike until I blew the tire out. I mean, I did stuff, right? Kids have got to be out there doing stuff. What did I say? One of the issues, boredom. One of the issues I saw in a lot of classrooms today was boredom. Kids just boredom. This is so boring, right? A lot of kids, not all, I should say most kids, some kids. Some kids are bored because they're too smart, okay? This is so boring. Have you guys ever, I don't even know what movie it is, but there's a movie out there, some like genius little girl, she's sitting in a math class, what's 2 + 2? Really? You know, I don't know what movie that is, you probably know it, it's okay. But, I mean, there are some kids out there that are way too smart, right? That rat kid I told you about, he was way too smart for himself. He was sitting in class, this is so boring. And that would lead to him not doing his homework. I had to sit down and teach him. I had several kids like this. You got to do your homework if you want to be in the advanced class. Because they offered advanced classes. I know you guys don't. Right, you guys don't. I think so. Not because you don't have advanced kids, but I get it. You know, there are advanced classes, but you can't get in there unless you have good grades. But you don't have good grades because you're too smart and you don't want to do your work. Okay? I got off on a tangent there. I apologize. So, lack of exercise we were talking about. Diet as well. We talked some about that. It's not a problem to feed your kids stuff that they don't like to eat. Okay? A lot of food today is processed food. So let me tell you a little bit about brain chemistry. Okay? The brain and how it works is still being discovered and developed today. We know a lot more than we did 20 years ago. But there's one part of your brain, it's called the amygdala. Okay? The amygdala, let me make sure I say this right. The amygdala affects depression and anxiety, and it helps coordinate response to certain stimuli within the body's environment. Okay? That is a part of your brain that's directly fed by what you eat. Okay? Your emotions are a big role of your emotions are what you put into your body. So if I am going to Taco Bell every night, I'm gonna feel pretty cruddy the next day. I just talked with a good friend of mine, Clayton Fleming, right before this session actually. I don't know if you guys seen Clayton recently. I hadn't for a long time, and he walked in last night. I was like, dude, you look great. Like, you don't have much of a neck, your guts come on. Like, look at me. I was 180 pounds when I got married. I weighed 260. Right? I feel awful about myself. I don't have body image issues, but I feel awful about myself and my weight. Right? I'm not afraid to share that stuff, okay? But my wife, I won't share her stuff, but, you know. No, my wife looks great, okay? But I was talking with him a little bit ago, and he said, you know, when I started eating healthier, and it's different for everybody, But this is a fact. When you start eating healthier, less sugars, less sugary carbs, when you start eating better, your mental clarity goes up. Your ability to focus in the classroom goes up, whether you're a teacher or student. Your ability to focus goes up. Okay? A lot of these emotional dysregulation effects are minimized when you start eating better. Okay? I love pizza and Oreos. Double stuff, right? I love it. It's like my comfort food, right? But if I ate that every single day, one, I would gain about 50 pounds. But I would not be able to focus at work. I wouldn't be able to have conversations with people on a higher intellectual level than I usually am able to. And I would just be in a state of depression all the time, okay? A lot of people are like, oh, I've got chronic depression. Maybe it's because you ate too many donuts, okay? I'm being a little mean, I apologize, right? But, okay, I'll say this, I'll go here. I know you guys may not, if you eat in the cafeteria, you guys may not get the nutrition that you need. I understand that, and maybe you do. I hope you guys have a great cook. When I was in college, I did not get that. I was traumatized from food more at college than I was at home. Okay, there was a night called Spud Night. Okay, you would get a baked potato and nacho cheese. That's it. Now, as a 20-year-old college student, I was going to Wendy's. Right, I'm like, oh, it's Spud Night? All right, let's go to Wendy's. I'll get the biggie bag of the 4 for $4, I'm broke. But I was consuming all this junk food, right? It wouldn't have been much better if I ate a baked potato. I was consuming all this junk food, right? Now, I looked great in college, but my mental clarity was poor, okay? I was highly depressed in college. I had no idea what was going on. I could not focus in the classroom. A lot of that was because my diet was so awful, and I didn't learn that until a couple of years ago when, hey, if you eat good food, if you cut back on your sodas, or your pops, whatever you want to say, if you cut back on your sugars, man, your ability to focus goes up. In most public schools that you go to today, if you're walking right now, which you can't, because they're locked down, but if you walked into a public school system today, in the morning, when a kid gets off the bus, gets dropped off by their parents, they get a breakfast. Regardless if they had breakfast or not, they're offered that because state requires them, at least the state of Indiana, requires that that child have breakfast available. That breakfast, thanks to Michelle Obama, usually consists of cereal, yes. Cereal is not much better than what I'm about to say, but a Pop-Tart, or a sugar granola bar, or one of those chocolate chip muffins, whatever. Yeah, they're great, I know, but look at me, okay? All right, I can't, I get out of breath by sitting in my car, getting in and out of my car. I got out of breath by walking up the stairs today. You guys gotta fix that, by the way. So, and we're giving that stuff to our kids, okay? Whose bodies are much smaller than ours, okay? We're giving them the same portion sizes that we're eating. That's horrible. Part of that I know it's not intentional. Part of that is because ignorance. We just don't know any better, right? We've been listening to, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, don't think that, don't close out on me, okay? Part of that is just because how the federal government has been set up to teach us how to eat, right? What's it called, the Federal Food Association, or federal, something like that. No, not FDA. It might be on the CDC, I don't know. But there's a government website, if I was doing PowerPoint, I'd show it to you. Government website, the food tier, right? Food pyramid. Say what you should eat in the morning, lunch, dinner, what kind of foods you should avoid, what kind of foods you should take in. Did you know Lucky Charms is recommended to eat for breakfast over bacon and eggs? It is healthier than eggs in the morning. That's awful. Because there's people who are dumb enough to believe that. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that if you feed your kid Lucky Charms and Dino Nuggets and mac and cheese, you're a bad parent. Okay? Please don't think that. But if you start saying that your kid's having a food disorder, that's all they're going to eat, maybe once in a while as a snack, sure. But please, give your kids the nutrition. If your kid won't eat it, I'm sorry. Sometimes I went to bed hungry. My mom would walk in with a piece of toast and butter on it. And that's what I would eat for dinner. Because I wouldn't eat my mom's dinner. Learn really quick the next day, okay, I'll eat that. Because I'm starving, all right? And as a kid, I didn't get much of a lunch either. It was bologna, cheese, and or ketchup. I have not eaten bologna since middle school. I hate it. But, aside from that, I want you guys to understand, diet and exercise. Regular exercise and a good, healthy diet is vitally important to a child's cognitive function and development, okay? Physical development. That does not mean your kid needs to be out there running laps and doing push-ups every day. I'm not saying we need to turn to a military state at all, okay? But your kid needs to, hey, you need to go outside and ride your bike. Now, what are some factors to why we haven't? Anybody want to take a guess as to why physical exercise has gone down in America? Go ahead, Shannon.
You might live in Indiana.
You might live in Indiana. That has a lot of implications, but yeah.
It's very cold much of the year.
Okay, sure, yeah. Liz.
Cheese greens.
Okay, yes, we're getting to that. Yes, I'm very excited to get to that, actually.
You don't want to let your kids out around the city neighborhood because who knows who's out and about and watching and
Yeah, that's the primary reason, okay? Crime is up, okay? And we're living, our society, you don't have, 30-acre homes anymore, okay? Most people, I worked at Firm Foundation 3-4 years ago, probably. Great place to work. But we would pour jobs. We would pour a concrete basement. 10 feet over, pour another concrete basement. 10 feet over. Look, 25 feet back. I mean, that's the size of the yards. And most of these people are, I'll get a dog, one kid, I'll put up a fence, they'll be fine. What? You have zero privacy if you wanted it. Some people don't care about that. But your kid does not have any room to grow. Okay? You ever heard of the goldfish syndrome, right? Or is it goldfish or whatever? I don't know. But the more space that they have, the more room they have, they'll just keep growing and get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? That's the same thing with your kid. I'm not saying they're going to be huge. But, your kid needs lots of space to grow. And I get it. Sometimes you just really can't afford a big place. I get that. That's totally fine. But the reason why a lot of exercise has gone down in the United States is because there's not a lot of space. And we have space to fit a lot more people. But we're all in one little spot. Yep. So, cell phones. Let's talk about that really quick. I want to be careful because it's a part of our lives. It's a part of my life. Anybody have an iPhone? If you got an iPhone, why don't you pull it out? You don't even know. That's okay. You don't have to know. You got an iPhone? Pull it out. Open up the settings. Oh, you already know. Yeah. Pull out the settings.
I look at it every day.
Every Sunday morning, I get a notification from screen time. Hit settings, go down to screen time. Okay? It's going to be really low for me this week. But I'll show you last week. My daily average of phone time usage this week so far is 2 hours and 27 minutes.
Bro, I wish.
Daily average, okay? Let's see if I can go back to last week. Last week's average was 5 hours. 5 hours a day. Okay? Now, I just got a new job. I have not been able to do anything from 8:30 until 5:30 at night. Well, 7:30 until 5:30. And so you can see on my phone, there's like high usage at 6 and 7 o'clock, and then 6 and 7 o'clock over here. Because I literally can't use my phone right now. Alright, I'm busy. But, last week I was constantly on my phone. Biggest usage, 23 hours on Facebook. Now some of you don't know, use Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Right? An hour and 46 minutes on my texting app. An hour and a half on Safari. If that's what I'm doing as a grown adult, doing 40 hours a week, what do you think kids are doing who have all the time at home? And not just on cell phones. It blows my mind. Parents, I'm not going to look at you. Parents, if you have a kid and they have a smartphone, take it away from them. Throw in the trash, disconnect it, get rid of it. Your kid does not need a cell phone.
at what age?
Until they can pay for themselves.
Oh, but I don't have mine.
I didn't get a cell phone until I'm not saying, hang on. I know. I'm not saying that your kid should not have a cell phone because they can't. What were you saying?
She doesn't pay for her own phone.
Yeah, you can. I don't remember where I was going with that now. But I'm not. Look, the reason why I'm saying your kid should not have a cell phone is because of that very reason. And unless you're the type of personality where you can directly monitor that kid's internet activity and usage and everything they're doing on the phone, which you can't do. There is software out there. I don't think, I know it's so hard. It's almost impossible to find a dumb phone nowadays. But I mean, I saw a 6-year-old in a stroller, which is insane for a 6-year-old in a stroller, on a smartphone bigger than mine. And I'm thinking, that family looks like they don't have any money. How? Right? I'm not trying to stereotype people with no money. But it's just like, look, I use my phone for work, for family, for entertainment from occasion, you know? Like, now, and let's talk about other than just cell phones, right? We have video games and TV, right? There's a kid I had, he didn't care about a cell phone. He had one, so he talked to his mom and his dad, but he didn't care about it at all. He wanted to watch TV all day, and he would spend 6, 7+ hours a day on TV. He'd stay up till midnight watching TV. What does that do to a kid's brain? One, you're killing the creativity in them, right? Oh my word, I'm just gonna learn everything from TV. Do you want your kid learning everything from TV? From social media? Again, not being a conspiracy theorist here, but this is a fact. Do you know how much propaganda is on social media? And not just U.S. propaganda, right? There are enemies of our state who are propagating us. I don't know if that's the right word. Who are putting their propaganda on our social media platforms and putting westernized ideas into it. And I've seen it, and that makes sense. And then I have to stop myself. Whoa, hang on. We're talking about killing Ukrainians, right? We're talking about killing Israelites. You know, I can't be. That's wrong. Duh. You know, but your kid does not have the same cognitive function that you and I do. Okay? They don't know how to understand or how to restrain themselves. So unless you are able to put a software on there where you see literally everything they do, maybe I would still discourage you from doing it. And here's the reason why. Your kid is smarter than you when it comes to technology. Okay? I started a new job this week, and my sales manager is working with me, and he was showing me some stuff on his iPad and trying to figure it out. How do we turn the volume up? And I was teaching him. I don't even know how to use this software. It's a whole new program, and I'm telling him how to do it. I'm telling him how to use it. And he goes, "Oh, thanks. You know, that makes sense." You know, it's because I'm a younger generation than him. There's 12-year-olds out there who are learning computer coding and how to hack their computers, right? We give Chromebooks out to all our students here, which I think is, personally, I think is really dumb. Okay, but that's my personal view and opinion. Okay, and I know some teachers agree with that too. A lot more than just you guys. But you might put blockers. What kind of blockers do you guys use?
GoGuardian.
GoGuardian. Thank you. I was thinking Covenant Eyes. GoGuardian. Kids can get around that. Okay, it is not that difficult. And it's crazy because IT might think, oh yeah, I got a block, I got to lock down. You know, teachers might be able to say, you know, hey, I can look up what Isaac's doing right now. I know you don't, but you know, I can look up what Isaac's doing right now. You know, my wife has told me, it's just fun. She goes, you know, I've got kids. You know, I can literally see everything they're doing. You know, one time we were sitting in revival in the auditorium, and my wife pulls out her phone, gets on GoGuardian, and sees 7 screens of her students open right then. 7 in that auditorium. They were actually there in the auditorium. And she boop, block, shut them down. Okay? Why do we think that's a good idea? Oh, they'll get so much schoolwork done. It'll be easier for them. They'll learn so much more because they have access to the internet. Yeah, they've learned too much. Okay? You wanted to say something. I held you back. Go ahead.
There is.
Talk about cell phones, yeah.
Yeah, there is the other side of that to where you train them and help to guide them so they know how to use it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what should be done.
Because there's both sides kind of going on right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, I give them when they're younger. No, I don't give them till they're older.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell you from my. I understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm with you.
When we have kids, when my wife and I have kids, we've talked about this. We've agreed on this. They will not have a cell phone until they get themselves a job, until they pay for their own phone service. They can be on my phone plan, but they got to pay me every month for it. Same with their car. They're not getting a car from me. They're going to buy their own car. All right? I'm not going to pay for their college. Now, when my kid's born, way off tangent. When my kid's born, I'll make up an HSA account, right? They can have a college fund, but they're going to pay for it themselves. Okay? It teaches responsibility, guys. I think, I really don't want, I want to avoid using what other speakers have said, but my wife was telling me a little bit about what Valerie Quisenberry was saying yesterday. Were any of you in her session yesterday? Okay. Heard it was tremendous, and she is way more qualified to talk about what I'm talking about today. And I wish she was here, because I would love to have that dialogue with her. But she said there are so many times, I'm paraphrasing now, but she said there's so many times where your kid, it's a privilege. I deserve this, right? Should it sound like that? Yeah. A lot of times kids think, oh, I get this for free, I deserve it, right? You get in the real world, it's a rude awakening. Oh my goodness, I have to pay for that, right? When I became an adult, which wasn't too long ago, but when I became an adult, I was shocked by how much bills cost. I was like, oh my word, I'm paying $500 for electricity? What am I doing? You know? Turn the heat off or something. So, I want to open it up for questions. You guys might have to clarify some things. The last part here is really quick. Emotional dysregulation can be a part of developmental learning disabilities. Understandable, okay? Your kid might actually have a genetic disability, right? They may have a learning disability. They may not be able to comprehend. They may not be able to sit down. So many kids are diagnosed and undiagnosed with ADHD. Don't tell anybody. I think I got ADHD. Okay? I'm all over the place. I walk into my house and I'm like, oh shoot, that light bulb's out. Let me go change that. And I get the drawer. Oh man, the drawer's squeaking. Let me go find the spray oil so I can fix that. Then I'm walking to the bathroom and what am I in here for? Oh, toilet clog. Let's fix that. Well, where's the plunger at? I just want to fix the light bulb. I went to do some work on my car, and it took me 3 hours to do a 20-minute job because I was all over the place. And I'm very OCD. Okay, totally undiagnosed. Okay, does it mean I don't have those problems? No, but I'm aware. A lot of kids lack self-awareness. I'm sure you all know that. A lot of kids lack self-awareness and the ability to understand, oh, man, that's a problem I have? Okay, accept it. Move on from it. All right, I know I can't focus on more than one task. That's why I'm up here. I'm going all over the place, and I'm trying my best to keep it in one spot for you guys. But I know I'm all over the place. I understand that. I accepted it, and I'm moving on from it. Don't let your child's needs, teach your child this. Don't let your problems disable you, because they quickly can. Okay? Now, I want to thank you guys for listening to me. There's a lot of information, and I'm not going to apologize for it. It's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I still don't know, and I'm still learning. But I want to open this up for you guys. If you want to have any questions, we got about 7 minutes, all right? And I'm going to get some lunch. And but please, what kind of questions do you guys have? What can I clarify what I said? Please, what's your name?
Katrina.
Katrina, nice to meet you.
Oh, I have a question about you were talking about like food and
Yeah.
diets and stuff. I understand what you were saying about like making sure that they're not overweight. How do you deal with a child that will not eat and is just way too skinny? Like does not meet the weight for their age and is just way too skinny?
There are very rare cases where a child will not eat. A child is still a human being, and if I went without food, I'm going to find food really quick. Okay? If my wife was here, she would be nodding her head. I get pretty hungry really quick. Okay? I think last night I texted her. I was on my way from work. Hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to make some dinner. But you're in Westfield. You want to meet up for dinner real quick and let's just go like some Chipotle? She goes, yeah. That's about 20 minutes for me to get there. I'm like rushing into West. I'm picking her up, and she goes, hey, pretty quiet. What's wrong? I'm hungry. I'm about to die. I'm sitting there peeling out. I'm like, we're gonna go get. I'm a human being. When I get hungry, I'm seeking out food. If your child is hungry and they're not gonna eat, that's their choice. Remember what I said about consequences? Everything you do and decide has a consequence. Okay? There are very few times where a child won't eat. A lot of the times, listen to this carefully. A lot of the times, your kid is going to see how far they can push you. When is your will going to be broken? Just this morning. Dogs are not like kids. Clarify that. But it's very applicable. My dog, we threw outside this morning. We put her outside this morning to go to the bathroom. And we have a glass sliding door in our master bedroom. She will scratch at that window. Hey, let me in. I want in. She's a lazy dog. She wants to be in the bed under the covers all day long. But she'll make messes on the floor. And so she's sitting there scratch. I can ignore that, I can avoid that because I know that dog will wear out soon enough and it'll go take care of its business. But if I cave to it, then it knows. If I scratch the door 7 times, I'm not kidding, this is true science. Kids will do this. If I do this so many times, mom and dad will break. And guess who let the dog in? My wife. And I turn around for a second, I like put on my tie, and I hear the door, I'm like, why'd you do that? We were about to break her, you know? But my wife caved. You know, my wife is too good. But your kid will try to break you. I think Val talked about this a little bit yesterday, Valerie. But your kid is going to try to take control of the home at an early age. Maybe they're a teenager. You've got to break that. You are in control of your home and only you. If it's not, I'm sorry, there's some problems in your home, you got to fix it. Take control today. Say, hey, there's some new rules in this house. All right, you're going to be home at 10 o'clock every night. Okay, I'm going to walk at 10:01. Okay, I'm going to take the keys. Or, you know what my mom did? Don't do this. She locked my brother out one time. My brother never got a key to the house. And I think it was just forgotten about. But, you know, I got a key to the house, and my third brother, but the second brother, he never got a key. He never got a key to the house. And he said, there were some times I'd come home, the door would be locked. Well, you weren't home by curfew. Okay? That's just one example. Please.
Well, my name is Tracy.
Tracy, nice to meet you.
So I'm a Sunday school teacher for youth at my church.
Uh-huh.
And how can I explain it? So I have a certain student. Okay, girl. So like we can have class, we can have fun, we can have like a lot of things going on. But the thing is that she's like, she doesn't want to participate. You know, she's always like, not really an outcast, but she like doesn't want to like be around everyone that is there. And I've talked to her many times. I'm like, is there anything I can help you with? Type of thing. And I think she suffers from like anxiety and a little bit of depression. And like I always try to help her, but she's always like not participating. And like I don't know what to do at this point.
You have a girl in your class, she doesn't want to engage with other people, you think there's some anxiety, some depression going on. She just doesn't like being around a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I ask her to.
How old is she?
She's like almost 18.
Yeah. Okay. So, when a adolescent chooses not to be around other people, kind of have to let them drift. Let them do their own thing. They are at adolescent stage. Adolescents are different than kids by a lot. Okay? I would know. I just watched Isaac go through adolescence. No, I'm just teasing Isaac. No. Adolescence, it's a time, that time of life can be described as a storm, an emotional storm. They're all over the place. You cannot reason with them. Okay? You cannot change their mind. They're going to do what they want to do. Okay? And let's just say Susan, you know. Let's say Susan is, you know, she comes to church, she's listening to the Bible story, she's, you know, singing a song, she's doing prayer, but she wants to sit down and just be kind of quiet. That's totally fine. She might be an introvert. That's normal. Okay? I am 49% introverted, 51% extroverted, which is a terrible mix for me. Like, I love people, but hey, I'm totally cool to sit over here by myself. Right? There will be times I'll be going to a party, and like halfway through, I'm like, okay, I'm done. You know, I got my fill. I'm gonna go home and, you know, sleep. You know, totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. Now, the anxiety and depression, maybe something's going on. Hey, what's going on? How's your family life? Ask those underlying questions, right? We can't treat symptoms without treating the underlying problem. Okay? Hey, my mom's in jail. Oh, really? What's going on there? Oh, she's a drug addict. Oh, she got a DUI. You know, look, just ask some questions. You know, don't get like, hey, what's going on with your mom? You know, don't get too direct. You know, you'll turn it off quickly. But you got to ask some underlying questions like, hey, what's going on? How can I best help you? Make sense? We got time, a little bit more time. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
You touched on it a little bit, and it, you know, just goes to think that I would probably talk about it, but what is your idea of the influence that some forms of electronic entertainment can have on children if there are certain limits? I know there's definitely in the Christian society a very strong divide. Some give some leniency, others pretty strict prohibition against it.
Mhm.
And so, I was just wondering where you'd fall.
Yeah, so I think that social media and electronic devices, technology in general, let's just say social media, okay? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Hate TikTok. My sister spends hours in bed on TikTok. She has depression. I shouldn't have said that because she might see this. It has a huge play. It has a huge part in the development of that child. Unless their parent is able to come alongside and, hey, this is how you're supposed to be using your cell phone, right? I'm okay with social media. I use social media. But I know when I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I start scrolling before I start doing my devotions, or I start scrolling for hours, I'm like, I just wasted an hour and a half on reels? Like, what is that? Okay? The child needs to understand. Actually, some of you guys have to go. I apologize for taking your time. The child needs to understand very quickly. You give them a cell phone, they get their own cell phone. Hey, you need to be careful, you need to be wise. Right? I wasn't allowed to get a social media account until I was 14 or 15. And even then my parents were hesitant. And they taught me what a social media account is used for. That we don't friend everybody that just sends us requests. Okay? That's a really quick way to get a predator in your account. Does that answer your question a little bit? I'm trying to be quick here.
Sure.
Okay, so I want to thank you guys again for coming here. I know there's so much information we didn't really get through a whole lot. We're really in depth.
I do.
But yeah, go ahead, Destiny.
Do you have a suggestion for food suggestions for children in the mornings? Obviously, because we know Pop-Tarts and granola
Yeah.
crackers and sugar. So do you have a suggestion for an alternative
Yeah, high protein. That's it.
if you don't have a fridge?
If you don't have a fridge, high protein. Eggs.
Cashews, here, eat some
Hey,
oatmeal.
no, seriously, you can get eggs. Eggs don't have to be refrigerated. Buy from the store, they do. Go to a local farmer.
I'm talking about to provide, okay, in the classroom. Kids come
In the
in
classroom.
hungry.
I apologize. I see what you're saying.
No, my apologies. I
Yeah.
Eat 'em raw.
It's not your responsibility. I know that's not what you want to hear, but you can't fix that.
But then they don't focus in class. Anyways.
I know.
Maybe that's a different
You know,
conversation.
almonds or cashews, some nuts, some
Yeah.
fruits. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with that.
That's good. That's a good thought.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here, for giving your attention. So sorry if you had to be here. I know. But thank you guys again. Have a great day, okay?